Welcome to Reviews of Ryan, and today on the channel I'm going to be talking about a brand new title premiering on Shudder on June the 30th called The Long Night. This film was directed by Rich Ragsdale, and he's done some short films and some really small films, but what he's really done a lot of is a lot of music videos for bands like POD, Chevelle, Theory of a Deadman, and also 311. But before I get into my review, I'd like to ask, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, comment below your thoughts on this, and also turn the notification bell so you never miss any videos that I make and I upload every week. And now without further ado, let's get into this review. A devoted couple's quiet weekend takes a bizarre turn when a nightmarish cult and their maniacal leader come to fulfill an apocalyptic prophecy. The film stars Scout Taylor Compton, Nolan Gerard Funk, and Deborah Kara Unger. So going into The Long Night, I knew nothing about this film. I saw the poster, I didn't know what it was about, and I really like going into films like that, just not knowing anything, because it is always going to be a surprise as to what the film is going to be. And then after really watching this film and seeing what the director has done, especially with doing a lot of music videos, especially with bands that I really like and bands that I knew growing up, visually I can see why this film is really good. I like the start of the film where it shows like a skyline, and then the music in this, there's a lot of cool haunting kind of music, but there was actually a song in the beginning. I think the band was called Wolves. I can't remember exactly what the band name was, but I added it to my Spotify list because the song was a really cool indie song. And in general, the music is pretty haunting in this. It's not really a chill kind of film or anything like that, but I liked how the film started out with that music. And then I also like a lot of the shots that they had in this, the drone overhead shots as the characters are driving to their destination out in the countryside. And then when they do get to this countryside, we get a lot of cool drone shots, especially over rivers and lakes. And you're in this house alone and there's nobody else around. And then there's the woods and such. I really like those kind of settings. It's the perfect setting for a horror film. So you have our main couple here, Jack and Grace. Basically, Grace is trying to find out where her family is. She grew up in foster care, and she really wants to know her past and where she came from. So she has this guy named Frank that calls her up and says, hey, come out to my house. I got stuff I got to tell you about your family. And that's why these characters are driving out to the countryside. You can tell that the couple, they're not exactly, I don't want to say like they're like not a good couple, but you can tell that they have their problems. There is one particular scene that they don't really elaborate on, but it's in the beginning of the film where Jack and Grace are fighting. Grace meets Jack's parents, and basically it doesn't seem like they're very accepting of her, and it seems like she gets embarrassed when she's at Jack's parents' house, and she doesn't really like that, and they get in a little bit of a fight. And then they eventually go out to this countryside to see if they can find out the answers for her family. I like the fact that this film, it doesn't waste any time. It gets right into the creepiness. And as soon as they arrive at this house, they're supposed to meet up with this guy named Frank, and he's not there. And then it becomes nightfall, and then when it becomes nightfall, they are surrounded by this cult, and they don't waste any time getting to that point. I also like Jack in this, even though he's a complete ass to his girlfriend, and just in general, you can tell that he is a city boy. He plays the part really well. He doesn't like the South. It's very evident that he doesn't like country folks, as he calls them hillbillies, and he just doesn't really like that lifestyle at all. And you can tell that he's just that city boy that grew up probably getting things handed to him, and he plays that part really well. There is a particular part where Frank's friend is looking for him, named Wayne, and he enters the house, and he's basically asking them why they're there, and they have this really funny kind of exchange fight where they exchange F-bombs, and I thought that scene was really funny. It really shows Jack's character. I also like the cult costumes here for these characters. Even though I probably have seen those kind of costumes before, it works here. I also like all the cinematography in this, how the film is shot, And then I also enjoy the lighting, and I like that they're building an atmosphere here and, making it kind of unsettling at points and not really knowing what this cult is going to do as they're standing outside their house. You don't know what they are capable of. So I like that mystery raveling throughout this film. And then I also like that this film has a lot of foreshadowing as to what is going to happen, and also a lot of symbolism as well. That really makes a good horror film, having different symbolism. And then the film is also divided into 7 different chapters, and those 7 different chapters really kind of show what is going to happen. And a lot of people have said online that those chapters don't really make sense, but if you're really paying attention to this film, and I watched this film twice to make sure that, I got everything and all the information about this film, but if you're really paying attention, those titles really do make sense. But the few negatives that I had, the first one, obviously, it's in a countryside setting. We get a lot of these kind of films where they're in the countryside setting, but I didn't let that bother me, and it was really beautiful to actually look at this setting. And then when Grace's phone malfunctions and gets taken over by these demons, and it's like staticking and shutting off and on, that's been done before. And then there is a little bit of predictability with this film, especially with the aspect of Grace being raised in foster care. You kind of have a little bit of direction of where this film is going to go. And that's mainly for me because I watch a lot of horror films, so I didn't predict everything about it, but I had a little bit of predictability knowing that she came from foster care. Some of the effects in the film, they're a little bland for my taste. And, there's not really a lot of blood, but there has a little bit of body horror moments. I don't really think it's really that bad, not like a Men. But I think that for the most part, it's pretty tame for the most part. It has a little bit of parts where it could be a little bit gross for some people. And then, of course, there are some other cliche kind of moments in the film. But for the most part, I didn't really let it bother me. I had a good time with this film. It really kind of baffles me that people online have really bashed this film. It has a score on IMDb of 3.6 out of 10, which is really surprising to me because I've seen a lot of lower budget horror films and they are completely worse than this film. And I just don't agree with that score at all. I think that this film, for the budget that it has, I don't really think it's that low of budget. I think that the acting is done pretty well. I think that the story, it could use some touches here or there. I think that we get enough of the cult and knowing what they're about and what they're trying to do. And of course, the ending of the story, it could feel a little cliche, but it works. And I think that the director here, he did a pretty good job of telling this story and using this location to the full extent that he could use it at. And of course, there could be a little bit more development with the cult. We get a little bit here and there, but there could have been more. And you could also say that the 7 chapters that this is divided into, I guess it could be considered something that's been done before, but I think it really helps this film out and really helps the direction of where this film is trying to go. I just like that this director used a lot of symbolism and foreshadowing throughout this film to really keep it going. It didn't need a lot of crazy effects in this. Like I said, the effects are kind of bland at times, but it doesn't really need a whole lot at the same time to really keep the story going. I was interested throughout this entire story, and I'm going to give the score of this film a 4 out of 5. I really did enjoy it. I think that you guys should check it out. Let me know what you guys think. Are you into cult films? Is this something that you would be interested in? Let me know down in the comments what you thought about this film. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you guys on my next review.